The Post-Millennial reports it begins. Far-left agitators descend on Chicago, protest DNC, disrupt opening night party. And, quote, long live the Intifada, they chanted. They also said something about bringing the war home. Something about, I don't know, it is a stupid chant. It's meaningless, but they're violent. Protests kicked off the Democratic National Convention in Chicago on Sunday, one day before the official proceedings were set to begin and formally coronate the party's chosen candidate, Kamala Harris. A heavy police presence accompanied protesters who complained about racism, climate change, border security, and nicknamed the nominee Killer Kamala. I kind of like that one. Can we use that? Can we use that too? I actually think an effective attack vector politically for Republicans will be Israel. I think there's a lot in fanning the flames of the outrage of the far left over Israel and American foreign policy, in that there is some overlap with the right over the foreign funding of wars. And the right should absolutely make this a talking point and say, Democrats need to answer for their position on Israel. That's it. Republicans, of course, largely agree with funding Israel and supporting them. A lot don't. Republicans have no problem saying Donald Trump is pro-Israel, even to the chagrin of many Trump supporters and people on the right. Kamala Harris needs to come out and assert her position because the protesters are demanding it. And Kamala has been accused, so she needs to answer for this. She's vice president now. The Republicans have made their position clear. Far leftists don't have to like them, but Democrats need to answer because they're trying to have it both ways. So let's get an answer for our good protesting friends over here. How about that? Here we go. Here's a chant, and here's part of the protest.
Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Christian fascists go away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay.
Why are they chanting that at the DNC? Honestly, it's like the weirdest thing, isn't it? Here's another one. Protesters in Chicago chant, long live the Intifada, and out of your house, out of your home, we'll bring the war home. You're rhyming home with home. I just have a question. What are you doing? What are you doing, guys? Like, what is this doing? Honest question. What is this doing? There's a guy right here with a keffiyeh and a hoodie, and he's banging a spoon in a pot. I understand what the casseroles protest was. You guys remember that? All the French people were banging pots and pans to make noise or something. It was called the casseroles. And then people all over the world started doing similar things. And so they're walking around now and they have a pot and pan and he's banging a spoon and a pot. And I'm like, okay, I see you there. Why? Why are you doing that? Like, for instance, I have this here delicious. I've been shouting out Numa quite a bit because they don't sponsor the show or anything, but we had James Klug try the mint one. I was like, I don't want to drink it anymore. I feel bad. But anyway, my point is this. I take a drink of this delicious drink because it has electrolytes. The electrolytes are good for my body and help with hydration. You see, there is a purpose to my actions. I'm speaking into this microphone so that people might hear me. I ask you, good sir, what does banging on the pot with a spoon do for your cause? It's loud, it's annoying, and people might notice you. Okay. I still don't know how that gets you from point A to point B, and I never have. It's like someone saying, oh, I drive my car around in circles because it's cold out. And I'm hoping to make the planet warmer. And it's like, okay, all right, the carbon emissions thing, I get what you're saying, but the disconnect between the action you're taking there and while tangentially correlated to what you're trying to make happen, it's there, it's not doing anything. I suppose these guys think walking around holding signs and yelling does something for awareness. Literally, no. All we know is that far leftists protested for what? I don't know. Here's a clip from Trump War Room, actually from The Blaze, and you can hear what they have to say. They're saying, piggy, piggy, go back home, or we'll bring the war home. I got to tell you, I think he's literally threatening the police. Also, I think I know that guy.
DNC, go home!
DNC, go home? They are home! They're in Chicago! What are you talking about?
Or we'll bring the war home! DNC, go home! Or we'll bring the war home!
I just have to wonder, what have they accomplished? Now, if the goal is ultimately to help Republicans, then, that I get. Because I can tell you about false flags. I can tell you that if Republicans went out acting like leftists causing problems, it would dissuade people from voting for the Democrats and it would dissuade people from supporting the left. These are called false flags. So if all the left does, if this guy's legit and these people actually represent the left and this is what they do, they are making Republican voters. There's going to be some middle of the road woman walking down the street having no idea what's going on. And she's hearing the screaming, she sees the fighting, and she's like, I hate this. They're going to want the cops to come out and shut it down. What I love about this right here is Politico. Protesters paused to reconsider opposing Harris at the DNC. They decided on full steam ahead. There are at least 6 major protests planned during the DNC in Chicago. From the looks of things this weekend, I'm not entirely convinced it will devolve into a murderous romp. My concern was that it would. There's a decent percentage chance. Now I'm seeing maybe not so much. Chicago's a crazy place. There's a lot of heat energy right now. They're calling Joe Genocide Joe, and they're calling Kamala Killer Kamala. So now it's interesting as to whether or not we are going to see the far leftists actually take this to the next degree. I mean, many of them are supporting Hamas. I will stress, on Timcast IRL, we've had a few people suggest that Kamala Harris's administration will be anti-Israel and pro-Iran. And I think that's absurd. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz represent the deep state. They're not going to just stop funding Israel. That's never going to happen. Donald Trump represents the right-wing populists for the most part. However, Donald Trump also is not going to stop funding Israel because that's just that's the position to take to get the voting bloc to win in this country. Not to mention AIPAC and support. Trump's not going to back away from that. While Trump does represent right-wing populists to a certain degree, yeah, let's be real. Trump hired Bolton, et cetera, et cetera. And that being said, I don't know why Republicans want to take that line, even if they think it's true. You've got the far left breaking from Democrats. Why would you want to give the Democratic Party voters? You go to these far leftists and say, trust me, Kamala Harris is anti-Israel. And they'll be like, really? They might vote for her then. No. And that's not even correct. They're the deep state party, military industrial complex party. They're going to fund this stuff. That's just the way it's going to go. And this means a portion of the progressive left will not support the Democrats. Okay. Now, I do have a question for all of you, and you can comment, chat, super chat. Serious question. Why do you think it is that the far left doesn't protest the RNC to any strong degree, but they do protest the DNC? An honest question, because I don't know that I have a really good answer. It makes no sense. The Republicans outright, the Republicans are saying definitively like pro-Israel. And far leftists show up to the RNC, but there's these tiny protests. It was so minuscule. I walked right past them, drove right past them. No issue. I couldn't do that in Chicago. The streets are shut down. Look at this. Look at this clip from Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok has this news report.
Is set to begin. Area businesses are taking some precautions.
WGN's Andrea Medina shows you how some companies in the loop are starting to board up ahead of the big event.
Given the uncertainty surrounding next week's convention, businesses are taking steps to prevent potential threats to their property, like looting or vandalism.
No one did this in Milwaukee.
Protection.
We've had zero indication that there would be any protections down in the loop.
That's why the owner of Sid Jerome Menswear is reinforcing his downtown store by covering up the windows with plywood in anticipation of possible civil unrest and violent protests that may come from the Democratic National Convention next week.
We know from past experiences that something could ensue, so we wanted to be proactive and get ahead of it.
The men's clothing shop is located on Madison Street, which is down the block from City Hall and along the main route to the United Center, where significant gatherings are expected. The owner hopes these measures will be sufficient to prevent potential damages and avoid a repeat of past incidents.
We've been a victim on 4 separate occasions where we've been vandalized or looted for, various incidents or events that happened in the city.
They're not alone in their concerns. The Chicago Board of Services says their crews have been actively boarding up storefronts over the past few days to mitigate losses and destruction. So far, they've secured 12 locations around the West Loop, downtown, and Daly Center area.
Jeez, look at
plans
this.
to board up additional businesses this weekend.
We're not pushing it. We're hoping that the city will be comfortable and there will be no unrest. But if you feel that you want your doors boarded, it's better to board them up than to wait and have to board them up and replace glass.
A spokesperson with the Chicago Loop Alliance indicates that they believe the convention will go off successfully without harming businesses and considers boarding up with plywood to be unnecessary, though they understand why business owners are taking these precautions. Mayor Brandon Johnson is also confident the DNC will proceed smoothly with the support of the Chicago Police Department.
But we're also coordinating with Secret Service and other local law enforcement agencies to ensure that we have a vibrant, safe, productive DNC.
The board up company says if businesses need something boarded up, they encourage them to do it ahead of the convention, but they say that crews will be available if they need something done next week. Reporting in the Loop, Andrea Medina, WGN News.
Why would anyone want to live that way? I wouldn't. Let me show you this as well. I have this map pulled up. This is United Center to McCormick Place. This one struck me as odd. So the main event is taking place at the United Center. Big stadium. I think it's where the Bulls play. And that's where they're going to be. Fox is there right now. And then the rest of the DNC with the meetings and the media, McCormick Place. I got to tell you, that's pretty far away. That's crazy. United Center is off 290 and McCormick Place is off Lakeshore Drive. It's 5 miles, 5 or 6 miles away. I think it's about, if you take the shortest route, 5.1 miles by road. Straight shot, maybe 4.5, but you're not flying. Yo, this is nuts. This means that anyone coming from the United Center has to be navigating through concrete barriers, police security, and mass protests. I don't know why they did this. I cannot understand. It seems intentional to make it so that someone at the DNC gets hurt or something. How are you going to be getting from the United Center to McCormick Place? That's crazy. I'm sorry. I just think that's crazy. I don't get it. You guys know I'm from here. I know all about these neighborhoods, especially with these protests. Yo, I got to tell you, McCormick Place is massive. Look at this complex. You've got a parking lot here, this building right here, this building, this building. This whole thing is McCormick Place. It is effing huge. Okay, but I digress. This is kind of crazy. I will say I've not seen anything like McCormick Place in other cities for the most part. I guess kind of. How big was the Fiserv Forum? Yeah, it's not really that big. McCormick Place is massive. I think it's, how many square feet is it? Let me find how many square feet is McCormick Place. I think it's like several 100,000, isn't it? 2.6 million square. I was way off. 2.6 million square feet. Holy crap. 600,000 square feet of meeting room space. Holy wow. Wow, that's crazy. It's got a 33,000 square foot grand ballroom for a theater. I'm sorry. I don't understand why they did not do the whole thing at McCormick Place. That just doesn't make sense. They are setting this up for riots and destruction. They are creating maybe the idea was by separating so tremendously, the protesters will be broken apart between those who want to show up to the United Center to protest the actual main event and those who would go to McCormick Place. I got to tell you, you ain't going to be successfully protesting McCormick Place. It's off Lakeshore Drive. You're not standing anywhere. Now, of course, you've got like bike paths and things like this. You've got the lakeside path right here. But I don't know how you're going to honestly protest McCormick Place. All I'm really saying is there's going to be riots in this whole area. This is crazy. So here's Navy Pier. Where's the Loop at? So here's Grant Park. So we're like somewhere over here. I just think this is nuts. I don't know. I kind of feel like it was intentionally set up in such a way that will maximize the effectiveness of the riots, creating a massive disruption zone, forcing people to drive ridiculous lengths to avoid the chaos, jamming up the DNC and causing problems for them. That doesn't make sense to me, though. Perhaps it's actually much simpler than that, and it's they really have no idea what they're doing. That's it, I guess. Maybe they really just don't have any idea what they're doing. I do love these flags you see flying. You got the Pride Progress flag and the Palestinian flag, and they actually made a Progress Palestinian flag combined, which I have to imagine would only just deeply offend many Palestinian Muslims. Thousands of activists expected in Chicago for a Democratic convention to call for Gaza ceasefire. I suppose the reason it is why Democrats protest, the far left protest the Democrats is that they actually think they can win some favor with them. The Democrats need these protesters to vote for them. The protesters want to make sure the energy is shown to the Democratic Party that you must stop the conflict in Israel, Gaza. You know what's really weird? For the right, you have two principal factions, the quote unquote right. You have the pro-Israel conservative religious, and you have the anti-war, anti-interventionist. And I would say I'm more libertarian, anti-interventionist. Israel, do your thing, have a nice day, and we shouldn't be paying for any of this overseas garbage. Trying to create a liberal economic order, I think, is a failed maneuver, causing conflict, crisis. Trump had it right in pulling our troops back, getting these other countries to pay their fair shares. We shouldn't be funding all of these things. We can have treaties, we can have alliances, we can have international trade, but why are we paying for the military, paying for the security of all these other countries? Don't agree with it. That I get. And then you've got the disagreement with people on the right. Now, the Democrats, they're still the war party. They've got a far left contingent that doesn't represent anti-intervention. They represent wholehearted intervention on both sides of their faction. The establishment Democrats want intervention in terms of we fund the wars, we're involved in them. The far left wants intervention in the stop Israel from bombing Gaza. My attitude is I can't stop Israel from doing anything, but we don't have to be involved in it. So they're saying, listen, understand this. Ceasefire now means they want Israel to stop bombing Gaza. We aren't Israel. That's the weirdest thing to me with these far leftists. They're asking you, because that's the worldview they have. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people on the right similarly believe that Israel controls the United States, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Like, even if you look at the history, like the Balfour Declaration and U.S. British interest, colonialism, whatever you want to call it, it's a project of the West, and it's a military apparatus for the West. I think it's absurd to think Israel controls us. Certainly, there are PACs and lobbyists and all of these things that have tremendous power. Don't get me wrong. But the left wants U.S. intervention to stop Israel. Okay, I'm not interested in, do you want to go to China and stop the Uyghur Muslim stuff? Do you want to go to Sudan and stop the civil war? Are we going to go to Somalia next? We already do all this garbage. I don't want to be involved in any of it. I say, we're done. But anyway, I digress. Here's another video from Libs of TikTok. Pro-Palestine protesters just crashed a DNC welcome party. It barely even started. It's going to be a long week. Enjoy this one. Here you go.
Y'all can do better than that. Mike DeMoney!
150,000 people are dead. You are funding a genocide. The Harris-Biden administration keeps funding money to Israel.
He's yelling free Palestine while wearing a mask. It's funny, but also kind of scary because we are spiraling, my friends. We are spiraling indeed. These young people, far left protests, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're angry for reasons they don't quite understand. And that's true. And it's a failure of this country. It's a failure. I mean, look, I got to tell you, the military industrial complex does not want people protesting in this way. They want the U.S. to keep paying the bills. They want the U.S. to keep funding Israel. The U.S. likes the instability in the region so that it can keep making excuses to be over there and be involved. These protesters, they're disruptive. They would be bad for the military industrial complex. This is a failure of American parents, and I must stress, a failure of the deep state. you have now a large contingent of anti-war leftists. Now, there have always been, but look what happened to your precious Vietnam deep state. Come on, how are you making the same mistake twice? JFK, I guess, he doesn't want to be involved in Vietnam. They took care of that, didn't they? You had these anti-war protesters don't want to be involved in Vietnam. The Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag. That's now known publicly and historically. Go look it up. The U.S. faked being attacked so that we could justify a casus belli for involvement in Vietnam. There's questions about communism and its expansion and everything, but people didn't want to be involved. And so they took care of that problem. Now you got a bunch of young people, once again, protesting what the U.S. wants to do, likely from foreign interference in our culture and society. And the deep state just keeps having this problem because you know what? They ain't good at what they do. That being said, whatever. I'll just put it this way. These young people genuinely don't know what they're protesting. I mean that wholeheartedly. They don't know what they're protesting. She's screaming 150,000 people are dead. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Oh, heavens. Have you talked about Yemen? Because we have. And we do it quite a bit. No disrespect. You're allowed to be angry about what's going on in Gaza, but we aren't Israel. Okay? So if your answer is no funding, I say, okay, let's make a list of all the countries we shouldn't be funding. There's a lot of them. Saudi Arabia, they cut off the petrodollar deal. Prepare for the economy to take a big hit. Things ain't going to get better. Maybe Donald Trump gets in, wags his finger at Saudi Arabia. We re-up the petrodollar deal. And he stabilizes this country. Let me clarify that. Temporarily stabilizes it with a Band-Aid. The petrodollar system is nuts as it is. But right now, global trade on oil is getting off the dollar. So your dollar is about to be worth nothing. Hence Bitcoin. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just saying good luck. But maybe we shouldn't be spending and mass spending money on things we can't afford because the system ain't going to be doing too well in the future. I think Trump had the right plan. Secure our borders, bring back our jobs, better trade agreements, get our troops back. It's about to get bad. He's basically saying bunker down for the storm. Call the kids home. The clouds are coming in. You send a text message to kids, the storm's coming, get home now. And they're like, oh, but I want to go out and play. I want to go invade Iraq. No. Hurricanes are coming. And we need to be ready for what that hurricane's going to look like internationally. The establishment Democrats are like, no, we're going to stay out. It's going to be fine. Avoiding the actual analogies, it's as simple as this. The Democratic view is we're going to maintain the liberal economic order no matter what, even if the system collapses trying. Trump's strategy is the liberal economic order has failed. We need to bunker down and prepare for the worst now so that we can come out of this on top. I'm with Trump. I think that's the right angle. They want war in Ukraine. They want to fund war in Ukraine. They keep funding it. They give Israel $20 billion. We don't have the economic forces. So they're bringing in as many people as possible, thinking we're going to bring these people in to do labor to maintain our economic machine so that we can keep producing weapons and go to war and win. It will not work. It won't work. At a certain point, you will rip the bottom out from you. You will cut the plant from its roots, and the system will buckle and collapse. And they're going to burn it to the ground instead of giving up on their liberal economic order pipe dream. I'm with Trump on this one. So I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. You can follow me on X at Timcast, become a member at timcast.com. Next up at 4 p.m. Oh boy, free abortions. Let's talk about why the DNC is giving out free abortions and free vasectomies. Thanks for hanging out. For everybody watching live, we'll jump to your super chats now.